All right, hello geometry. If you missed the class today, we went into depth over our last checking for understanding quiz. The reason why I wanted to go over in depth on this quiz is because we did not do too well on it, and there were some really important things that I needed you to have. These are tools that you're going to use this quarter and throughout the entire year. So we can see these 6 diagrams on the screen. This is right out of the Neuropod. I'm going to operate this right out of the Neuropod. The self-paced version of this Neuropod will be up, probably put it up today or tomorrow. Look for it, try to work on that, work through it, email me, let me know that you're through it. That way I can give you some feedback. But let's look at this. We have all 6 different diagrams, and I'm asking you these questions. Uh, which ones have parallel, perpendicular lines? So let's go through. Let's look at A. Diagram A. Is this parallel, perpendicular, both? Maybe it has both parallel and perpendicular, or there's just nothing to it. There's not enough information. And then for A, the answer is definitely going to be perpendicular. And the reason why we know it's perpendicular is that definition of perpendicular line is we have a line whose other line, whose slope is the opposite negative reciprocal of that line. We can see that they intersect at one point, they create a 90-degree angle. Without that 90-degree angle, we have nothing. We have absolutely nothing. So let me draw it out here. There's my best artist picture. We have this, and it's this box right here. That tells me that we have a 90-degree angle. All perpendicular lines have 90-degree angles. So yes, I can say without any reasonable doubt, we have perpendicular. And I gotta spell it right. All right. So our next one is this parallel. Our next one is this parallel, perpendicular, both or none. Once again, let's look at that diagram. Is there anything on B that says that this line is perpendicular? And think about what we just talked about in the earlier activity. Without that box that we see here, hopefully you can see my cursor on the video. Without this 90-degree box, we cannot say without any doubt that, hey, look, you know what? B is definitely nothing, absolutely nothing. So for B, we're just going to say nothing. Okay. C, do we have a parallel, perpendicular, or do we have absolutely nothing, or both? Maybe we see both parallel and perpendicular lines. So I'm going to try to erase this last diagram here on the Neuropod, so it's the C. But notice in C, and a little closer drawing of C, we have 4 sides. And because we have 4 sides, we have a quadrilateral. And see those little red arrows that are in there? So on my diagram, I'm just going to mark them off as those arrows mean that these lines have the same slope. Because they have the 2 arrows, they have the same slope. So I can say the 2 vertical lines are parallel to each other. And I can, vertical, horizontal. And the 2 vertical lines, because they have the single arrows, those 2 are also parallel. So based off of the information they're giving us in this particular drawing, I can say that yes, we have parallel lines in this example. Can there be an example of perpendicular lines in this? Unless there's boxes in the corner. Unless I see that, then no, I cannot say we have perpendicular lines, because that definition of perpendicular line is we have 2 lines that create a 90-degree angle. Therefore, we can say that these line segments are perpendicular to each other. So in our example, we can only say We are parallel. Okay, D. D, are we parallel, perpendicular, both or nothing? And in D, it was the most commonly missed problem on our test, and it is absolutely nothing. There's nothing to indicate to us that we have perpendicular lines because these lines are not intersecting. There's nothing here that tells us that these lines are parallel because notice, I'll use this red. That is the highlighter. If there was some arrows written in here, then I would say, yeah, these are definitely parallel. Line M and line N are not parallel because there's nothing that says that these lines are parallel. Therefore, it is nothing. All right, our next one, E. Do we have parallel, perpendicular, both or nothing? Some people chose both. Some people just said parallel, some people said perpendicular. So is there anything in this drawing that indicates to us that we have perpendicular lines? Anything? And the answer is no, there's nothing. Don't go off of what the diagram's shown. Don't trust your lying eyes when we're looking at these diagrams like we did on D. Only go off of the marking, the indications they give us. And if there was some kind of 90-degree angle here in the corner, well, let me draw it out. If I saw 90-degree angles here, 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 and here, and also up top here, yeah, then I would say that, yeah, we have perpendicular lines, but we don't. We don't have any perpendicular lines. So I cannot say that there's perpendicular lines in this diagram. However, because of these arrows, I can say we have parallel lines. I can say that LM, line L, line M, line N are parallel to each other, but I cannot say that line lambda, line T are perpendicular. So yes, we do have parallel lines in this particular drawing. So let me write that in there. All right, last. This one was a little bit tricky. Do we have parallel, perpendicular, both or nothing? This is a very commonly missed problem as well because we did not recognize what's going on. So let's look at this diagram. In this diagram, notice these tick marks here on the side. I'm going to go ahead and highlight them with my highlighter. I use this. So we have a tick mark here. We have a tick mark here, here, and here. And what that means is that the line segment AD is congruent to the line segment CB, and CB is congruent to CD and AB. They're all the same length. So we can say that, yes, all four sides of this shape happens to have congruent sides. And also notice these 90-degree angles. 90-degree angle here, 90-degree angle here, here, and here. Because we have 90-degree angles, I can say that the line segment CD is perpendicular to the line segment AD. Any place where I see a 90-degree angle, I can say that these line segments are perpendicular. So we have a square. We have a square. That's what's going on. And because all the sides are the same length, we have 90-degree in the corner. Yes, we can say that we have a square. Yes, we have perpendicular lines. We also have parallel lines because a square is a quadrilateral, which is a parallelogram, saying that opposite sides of the square are parallel. So I can say that the line segment DC is parallel to the line segment AB. That is just a property of a square. So I don't need the double arrows to say we have parallel lines. I'm just using a property of square. So in this particular one, we can say both. Very important that you know these. You can look at these diagrams, talk about them, use the definitions that you have. Now let's go on to another part of the Neuropod I wanted you to have. So you get to see the teacher's versions of that. and we'll get into this. In your own words, describe what it means to bisect a line segment. And I used the exact words that everybody used in the quiz. So I actually copied and pasted those words and put them right here. So A, divide an angle into two different parts. When you bisect a line segment, it means you divide the line segment into two congruent parts to find the middle point. And it's going to be this one. And what I'm looking for is those key words, two congruent parts. When you take a line segment and you cut it in half, you create two congruent parts, nothing else. When a line crosses another line segment forming two congruent parts, well, not quite. That will do it. That one actually will do it. I would actually say, yeah, let's go ahead and use that one too. Because we are intersecting, we are forming two congruent lines. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So in this one, in your own words, describe the difference between parallel and perpendicular lines. There's some key words I'm looking for. So take a look at this. See which one you're going to choose. Write it down. Okay, if you're done pausing the video, it's going to be this one here, B. A actually has some things I want to see. The difference between parallel and perpendicular lines is that parallel never intersects, but perpendicular lines intersect at 90-degree angle. That's got pieces of the definition I want you to have, but not. C, you're describing how to construct one, parallel and perpendicular lines, but it's not quite there. It's not even the correct way to construct. D gives you some parts, but not everything. But what I'm looking for is the same slope and that you have the negative reciprocal of the other line. Without that, you don't have the definition of a parallel and perpendicular line. Let's look at one more. So let's go. So can you bisect a line? Why or why not? Yes, you can bisect a line because you are able to divide a line into two different parts. Yes, you can cut it in half using a line perpendicular to it. You get some of the definition there. Note a line is straight with no points, so there are no knowing where the bisect part of the line is to cut it in half. You got some of it there, but not what I'm looking for. D is what I'm looking for. You cannot bisect a line because the line is infinite. Think about how a line works. It goes on forever and ever and ever on one direction and ever on the other direction. So where exactly is the middle? If you do not have two defined points, you cannot cut it in half. Think about a candy bar, right? If you're going to cut that candy bar in half, what is that defined half? So you cannot bisect a line segment. So that's all I have for you in this video. Make sure you clean up any mistakes you might have made on that checking for understanding quiz. These are definitions that we are going to use for the entire year. You're going to find this on the test. I'm going to ask you to write these definitions down, and without those keywords that I mentioned in the video, you might have a tough time. So make sure you know those definitions. Make sure you can get those keywords in there and what I'm looking for. You got a little bit of an idea. All right, check in later. We'll get through the rest of this lesson tomorrow. Hopefully I will see you in class. So that's all I have for you now. Have a good day.